Hey guys, Mr. Riley here, and today I'm at Hawk Rock in Kent, New York. This time I'm in search of the mysterious stone chambers that dot the landscape of Kent, New York. So come join me as I go look for America's Stonehenge. This area is known as the Hudson Highlands, and many of these boulders, like the one behind me, were glacial erratics that were deposited here after the last ice age some 10,000 years ago. In soil studies, we learned that cultures use their natural surroundings to meet their basic needs. So with a lot of rocks in our area, it would make sense that the settlers would use these abundant rocks for stone walls and perhaps stone chambers. Throughout Putnam County, you'll notice lots and lots of stone walls that are all along the landscape. And essentially these were made by colonial farmers that came here in the 17th century. And as farmers, they have to clear the land. The Hudson Highlands has many, many rocks. So often the farmers would stack these rocks up and serve as farm borders and also to keep their livestock in as well. Often these stone chambers were located near sources of water. So here's a little stream here, and we must be getting close to one of the stone chambers right here in Kent. Okay, so this is a corbelled stone chamber, meaning that they took overlapping stones to form an arch-like structure, and then they'd have a capstone over the opening. Dirt and sod would be placed on top and on the sides of the stone chamber to seal it off. So these stone chambers here in Putnam County have garnered a lot of attention through the years as to when they were built and what the purpose of these stone chambers were. Most local historians that have studied these stone chambers believe that they are root cellars put in by colonial farmers in the 17th century as a place to store their goods. Many of these stone chambers could have been used as ice houses as well, to use for refrigeration. During colonial times, obviously, they would not have access to refrigeration, and inside is definitely a cooler than outside of the stone chamber. Lucas Barger was born in 1867, and he gives a description of how these stone chambers were built, and he also describes gangs of workers that would construct these stone chambers and use oxen to help move the stones, including the capstone. Since there's a lot of mystery around these stone chambers about the purpose and when they were built, it has led to alternative theories as well. Theory number 2 is that stone chambers like these were used by indigenous people as perhaps a burial place in the winter months, sort of a morgue, or it could also be used as a sweat lodge. Native Americans have been here for thousands of years prior to the arrival of Europeans, and it seems logical that they could have created these stone structures for religious purposes or for ceremonial purposes. Professor Barry Fell of Harvard believes that the Celts created these structures, and he believes there was Celtic presence in this area and that these were designed for religious purposes, that these are no ordinary storage root cellars, but the fact that they would have been so difficult to construct would probably mean that they were there for a religious. Some of these structures have light shining through on the solstice, so that's also keeping with some of the Celts structures, such as the one in Newgrange in Ireland. Theory number 4 is that these stone chambers were constructed by the Vikings. So we know the Vikings were here prior to Columbus, at least in North America, and some people theorize that the Vikings came down here in search of timber and were exploring this area and may have put in these structures. But there is no evidence that we can find linking these structures to the Viking. And theory 5 is You guessed it, extraterrestrials. In the 1990s, Dr. Bruce Cornett, a professor, said that he would get these strange magnetic readings at the openings of stone chambers. And his theory is that these magnetic poles would serve as landing pads for extraterrestrials. His theory is that these sensing platforms could be used by extraterrestrials, but his information has been discredited over the years, and this seems like a pretty far-fetched theory. Okay, so there's the 5 theories that people have come up with over the years as to the purpose and as to the use of these stone chambers. Remember, history leaves clues, so it's really up to us to come here and with a fresh set of eyes, perhaps you can find some information to help validate some of these theories and claims. These stone chambers are what makes Putnam County unique and special, and it's up to us to spread the word about these unique structures. So if hiking is not your thing, there's another stone chamber just about 100 yards down the road. So this is the second stone chamber among the 65 to 70 that are here in Kent, New York. And of course, you can take your historical selfie and get a homework pass. So here's the inside of another stone chamber, right off the 301 here. And you'll see how the corbelled stone walls are creating an arch-like structure. And it's mortarless, so there's no concrete or anything. It's just rocks that are put together and then filled in with dirt and sod. Notice how big some of these rocks are. So it would take an enormous amount of engineering to put this together. And most theorize that oxen would have pulled the stones into place. All right, guys, thanks for taking this tour with me, and keep living history. Okay, I'm scared. Okay, so I've emerged from the stone chambers safe and sound.